Well, hey everyone, this is Chris DiFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco, who has been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. That's nearly a century of creating what is the go-to espresso machine for so many of the world's best coffee bars because it has unmatched reliability, innovation, and all based on listening to their customers' needs throughout those years. That kind of innovation is seen in machines like the KB90, which introduced straight-in locking portafilters for ergonomics, auto flush for cleanliness and workflow improvements, scales in the drip tray for accuracy of your extractions. And when you go to LaMarzoccoUSA.com, you'll see a whole family of machines that are created specifically for different types of venues and styles. And so no matter what kind of bar you operate, you can be sure that there's an espresso machine from La Marzocco that fits your needs perfectly. And so if you're in the market for a new espresso machine, whether that's upgrading what you currently have or you're expanding your cafes and need one for your second or third location, or you're just starting and want to start with the best, reach out to them at La Marzocco USA. All you have to do is email info@LaMarzoccoUSA.com and one of their salespeople will be happy to help you. Today's episode is also brought to you by Espressly, who creates custom branded mobile apps for your coffee shop, letting you marry together the convenience of mobile ordering with the feel and experience of your cafe that your customers have come to love. It is a no-risk model with Espressly when you sign up to get one of their mobile apps for your business. There's no setup or development fees. You get a drive-through payment scanner, receipt and label printing capabilities. All the data is stored in the app, and it integrates with some of the world's best payment processing systems, including Square. And so there's a lot to love here. And if you've been thinking about getting into mobile ordering and apps, or you currently do have them, but you're looking to upgrade and get something a little bit more personal and suited, especially for the independent coffee entrepreneur like yourself, Espressly is a great option, and they are there to support small business owners just like yourself all the way. To sign up today, go visit them over at espressly.co. That's espressly.co. Okay, everyone. Well, today I wanted to talk about the subject of logistics, because this week we have been kind of covering logistics. We will continue to do so. If you're listening to this Shift Break episode, it's going to be the 10th of August, 2022. And earlier we had a conversation with the production and logistics director over at Andytown Coffee Roasters, Corey Turner. And in that conversation, Corey was talking about all the things that go into managing relationships, systems, developing solutions, and time management, etc. And then this Friday, the 12th of August, 2022, we'll be airing an episode with Evan Gilman, who works at the Crown Royal Oak Tasting Room and is really experienced in logistics. In that episode, we'll be talking about LTL freight and green coffee and tracking your coffee across the supply chain, building relationships, and managing logistics in your coffee roastery. And so I really have kind of thought about this week and said, well, let's just make this a theme this week of logistics. So here we are. Now, I wanted to talk specifically about the idea of logistics and systems and how they are always going to be subject to change. And you know that this is true if you've been in this business for any length of time. And what I want to mention today is the idea that flexibility is not something that naturally comes to people when they consider systems. In fact, there is a desire for certainty that is the default. As soon as you give somebody a system, they will latch onto that and say, well, this is the way that it's going to be forever. And they might not say that explicitly, but they will sort of think that if I just do this, I will be safe. And then when things change, it feels unsafe. And it doesn't have to feel as unsafe, and change doesn't have to be as scary if you have managed people's expectations from the beginning that things will change. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to mention here. One, change is not something that you give people as like a warning that says like things are just going to change willy-nilly. They're not going to just change one day based on our whims. They're going to change for a couple of reasons. One, external factors that are outside of our control that we need to respond to. Those could be emergencies. Those could be, global pandemic, global supply chain issues. And they will also change based on calculated decisions and research and development that we do as a business to make a change. But what will not happen is that we wake up one morning, take a shower, and in the shower we think, I should just change the way that we bag coffee, and we immediately just put it into place without consulting anybody, without preparing anybody. That's not the kind of change that anybody will accept, even if you prepare them for it and say, hey, guess what? There are going to be some days where I come in here and I just change everything, and I'm not going to tell you about it. It's just going to be different. That's not the kind of thing I'm talking about. Managing people's expectations has to do with breaking down what they can expect and how you are going to be there for them in the process and respect them in the process. So much of what we talked about with Corey and in this interview coming up with Evan is about building relationships across the supply chain. But here we're talking about building relationships and communicating well with the people who are in your roastery, in your coffee shop, and are responsible for using the systems that you create to create the outcomes that you've determined you need to create in your coffee. And so you have to manage expectations and say, look, things are probably going to evolve. Maybe don't even use the word change. You can say things are going to evolve. And so we're always balancing these things and communicating with our team about the fact that there's going to be some changes that happen over time. And we are dedicated to managing the change as it happens or as it's needed. So it not only serves the business, but it serves the people in the business. Now, the other thing I want to mention about systems is that you have to give people emphasis on what the end goal is, the why behind the what. What is it that we're trying to do here? If you're only giving people instructions based on the quantified version of work that says so many bags a day or so many drinks an hour, and it's all very granular, then when the system changes, the quantities change and the safety is eliminated, right? But if you give people and reinforce the idea of a greater mission and vision and return on their investment and a return on that mission, then when the system changes, it's fine because you're not changing what your goal is. The goal is still the goal. The goal might be we want to serve our community through hospitality and great coffee, and that leaves open the door for the means to that end to change. But that doesn't happen accidentally. It doesn't happen by default. You need to plan on putting into people's minds daily and putting in front of their eyes the vision, the values, the end goal, so that it counterbalances our propensity to focus on the granular things that make up our work. Because without a bigger vision, we will start to judge our success and our safety in our jobs based only on the details of, again, how many cups of coffee you produce per hour or how many bags, and we just kind of fill in the gap of meaning with things that are reliable. And so building in flexibility to systems, I think, is based on, one, telling people that we expect that systems will change. This is not to say we won't create them, but it is to say that expect that we will planfully, mindfully, with cooperation and communication, change things as it serves the whole. And then remind people and constantly reinforce what that whole is. What is the goal? What is the vision? And that is what we're trying to do, and show people how their work impacts that, and tell them the system is there set up to achieve this outcome, this greater outcome that transcends data. It transcends the quantities that make up the systems. And so when the system changes, it's not this existential threat because nothing has changed in terms of what we're working for. That is still there. And it leaves us with the ability to say, well, if it serves the greater vision and goal that I signed up for and we're always talking about and all that, then yeah, great. I mean, that just seems like a win instead of a threat or some uncertainty that is unhealthy, right? So as we talk about logistics and systems and creating borders around work, which is necessary, we also have to make sure that we're paying attention to how we manage expectations and communicate the end goal so that we are able to create better and better systems and bring people along with us as we do so. So that's it for today's episode. Thanks everybody for joining me. If you are interested in one-on-one coaching with Keys to the Shop Consulting, that would be with myself. You want to set up some phone calls if you're an owner or a manager. I've had a lot of recently opportunities to do some one-on-one coaching with cafe managers. I would love to talk with you, and that might be something that owners out there, you want your managers to have some coaching if they're new into the business of managing their staff. This has proven to be very beneficial. Contact me, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's my email. Reach out on the website too, keystotheshop.com. And if you all have not already followed Keys to the Shop on Instagram, it is just, you guessed it, at Keys to the Shop. So hope to talk to you soon, but I definitely will see you here next week on another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.